The Irrational Confidence Podcast. Alabama 5-1 on the year. Tennessee 5-1. Both teams have kind of a pretty inexcusable loss. Both teams haven't really looked like their selves from their best win of the year. This one's tough for me to call here, Fresh, because Kalen DeBoer and Josh Heupel right now are almost in the same place in my eyes. Which one of these guys is going to say, we're going to assert our dominance in this game, and we're going to say that we're not going to be left out? Because I have a feeling here, the loser of this game is going to really, their playoff chances are going to be on life support after this game.
That's the first thing I said. This is a crossroads game for both these programs. Both of them expected to probably be undefeated in great situations, or at least Alabama won lost, but that loss would have been to Georgia. That's how they kind of expected to be at the situation right now. They're both reeling. Alabama lost to Vandy. They actually haven't looked good since the halftime of the Georgia game. So what's that now? That's 10 quarters in a row where they got smoked in the second half. They got really lucky with the Ryan Williams, touchdown there, miracle, athletic play, allows them to get the comeback. We're going to have to call it a comeback win because technically we're down. And then you go into Vanderbilt, you get smoked, and you look like trash for most of the game for South Carolina, and you got lucky in the end there. That effort is not going to be able to carry forward up in Knoxville if you let it. If you do, Tennessee's going to get you because that defense is elite. This is a crossroads ballgame, and it doesn't just affect the two programs; it affects other teams in the spectrum. Tennessee, that win versus NC State doesn't look like that great of a win. They blew them out, great, fantastic with it, but NC State has not shown they're a true team that we all thought they could have been. Oklahoma's their true colors have shown that, yeah, they have a good defense, but that offense for Texas put up 30 plus on them, and they probably could have scored a couple more touchdowns if they wanted to. So, we're kind of like Oklahoma's not really doing them any favors. And then you struggle versus an average at best Florida football team. You should have lost that game 3 different times, and you lost to Arkansas. We haven't seen the passing game from Nico. It's kind of been the one thing that's missing. Nico's decisions on third down, his decisions in the passing game in general, just isn't there. Dylan Sampson run the ball really well. The defense playing great. But as these games get bigger, you're going to need that quarterback to step in there and make some big boy throws. And they haven't seen that at this point. They've kind of been able to skate by. If they don't show up here on third Saturday in October with a vengeance, with a focus, with a drive, after 2 years ago winning there for the first time, beating Alabama for the first time in God knows how long, it's going to become, you beat them once. It was great. You threw the goalpost in the river, and that's fantastic. Kind of like what Georgia fans hear from Alabama fans. Yeah, you beat them in the national championship game. Congratulations, you won a national title. Awesome. But every other game since that and before that, you've lost. So it's the one game and the one time in 10 that you finally figured out and get it done. And that's, if you don't win this game versus Alabama, it's going to be the same thing. It's the 1 in 10. Yeah, you won 2 years ago. Congratulations. Where's the mindset of this program? Where's the cutthroat attitude from Josh Heupel and that entire volunteer football team and that fan base? If they lose that game, that's 2 losses. They still have Georgia coming up on the road later on. And I say they got to play Vanderbilt, and that's going to be an upstart team. Do the wheels start falling off? It becomes another learning year at the quarterback positions. This is a very important game for Josh Heupel and that volunteer football team. They've got to come in, beat Alabama 2 straight years, and 2 straight times up in Knoxville, keep themselves in the playoff race, and that win over Alabama. In terms of the head-to-head matchups, at that point, Alabama beats Georgia, Tennessee beats Alabama. Tennessee technically might have the better win, and that puts them in the viewers of the committee in a great spot. So there's a lot of things at stake there. On the Alabama side, you still have some offensive line issues. In Tennessee, you have your own issues on offensive line, especially at tackle. But Milroe, you're an athlete, but your passing ability has looked a little shaky the past few weeks. You haven't been exactly on point. You've had some bad reads. You've had some bad interceptions and bad incomplete passes. Where's your mind at right now? Did you get so overhyped in that Georgia game these past 2 weeks? You've looked a little bit below average. You have got to get your game back and play almost flawless to beat this Tennessee defense. Ryan Williams, Miller at running back, Hayes at running back. They have players. Can the guys play organized football for a full 60 minutes there for Alabama? Can Kalen DeBoer get them to be disciplined enough to play a full physical football game? Do they have to? They change their style a little bit and be prepared for a defense that's shown that they can compete at a high level. It's a DeBoer thing. You're already getting, flack for the way he guys wear his t-shirts. He doesn't tuck his shirt in like Nick Saban. He's not Nick Saban. Everybody loved him until he lost to Vanderbilt and he looked rough for South Carolina. Now you start peeling back the layers of, well, you know what? You're not Nick Saban. And now the heat starts building up. If you go and lose to Tennessee after losing to Vanderbilt and struggling for South Carolina, that win over Georgia looks so far in that rearview mirror. It's start putting you in the hot seat. You've got to get the team reorganized, the program reorganized, and refocus to drive forward. This is a very important road game. It's one of those rivalries. We're talking about LSU Arkansas, where everyone kind of looks at the Iron Bowl as the number one rivalry for Alabama. But the third Saturday in October is an extremely important rivalry for both fan bases. And if you go up there and lose back-to-back times in Knoxville, for Tennessee's to take that advantage on you, that's going to be a stain that's going to hurt. And that's going to wear on you, and you start hearing from the media. You've got to get your team focused. You've got to get your team ready to play. Defensively, offensively, you've got to be locked in, special teams-wise, because Tennessee is going to come at you, and this is a hostile environment. Kalen DeBoer has not actually played in a hostile environment yet. Going to Vanderbilt was not a hostile environment. This game is going to challenge him, and you're going to have to be focused and ready to go and lock it in. Milroe, you might have to be the Superman. You and Ryan Williams. This is going to be a tough event. In the end, I think Tennessee's defense and running game get it done. The Vols win. I'm not going to say they win big, but they win by 3 or 4. And Alabama is put in a real tight spot, and subsequently, Georgia's put in a tight spot because their loss is their loss to a 2-loss Alabama team, which really could hurt them down the road.
Fresh, this is a Cyndi Lauper game. You talk about teams showing their true colors. They're going to come shining through here in a minute. By Sunday, we're going to know which one of these teams is okay. They're better than we kind of thought they were at this point right now, because there's so many doubts and so many questions for them. Alabama, they got to run the football better. It can't be Jalen Milroe has run the ball 77 times right now, and that's disappointing to me, because you take a look at the combined Justice Hayes and Jam Miller, 90 attempts on the year, and Milroe has 77 on that. We've talked about this so many times in years past that these programs put such a burden on the quarterback in the rushing game that you wind up losing something, I think, a little bit in the passing game or reading defense, or you get a little more tired than you should be. I need to see Jam Miller step up. I need to see Justice Haynes step up more in this game. They need to be able to run the football against this Volunteers defense. This Volunteers defense has been very impressive on this year. It's been the one shining spot for Josh Heupel in Tennessee. The offense has not looked as good as they're supposed to. Yeah, you point at Dylan Sampson, and he's great. He has been really, really solid, but Nico has not lived up to expectations. You take a look at the wide receivers, they're not, doing unbelievable things. But that's the hard part I have, is which team is going to make me feel better at the end of the game about the questions I have about their program. You take a look at, we challenged a couple weeks last time we talked about Tennessee. We sat there and said we need to see more out of James Pierce Jr. We're seeing that now. He's wound up gaining that pressure to the quarterback these last couple of weeks. You start seeing him in the backfield more and more and more. That needs to continue. He needs to give Jalen Milroe all sorts of problems all day long. The other question I have, who's going to be the guy that matches up against Ryan Williams? Are you going to put a guy out there like, which one is going to draw that assignment? Because right now, Alabama, with how their offense is facing, Ryan Williams is going to get multiple targets in this game. You're looking at probably a 10-target type of game here. Who's going to be able to stop them? I don't think you're going to be able to stop Ryan Williams at all. But are you going to be able to contain him a little bit? Are you going to be able to prevent him from breaking off that big play ability that we've seen all year long already? I don't know. I went really back and forth because I still think Josh Heupel is an amazing coach. A great guy from my interactions with him. I think the world of him. And Tennessee is at home. Give me the Volunteers, man. I went back and forth. I did not have my mind made up until that very moment right there. Give me Tennessee. I'm going to say it's going to be very, very close. I would take Tennessee in the points, especially. I know you're only getting 3 there. I do like Alabama a lot in this game, so I really almost feel like this is a coin flip game.
When was the last time that Tennessee came in to the third Saturday in October with a better defense? They are fourth in the nation in points per game and second in the nation in yards allowed per game, 10.7 points a game and 249.3. Like,
right.
It's very impressive that Josh Heupel's done this. Did he do it at the cost of his passing attack? What made him
maybe
famous? He finally figured out, like, I'm just going to play physical football and play defense and run the ball. Last year, Tennessee was up 13-0 early on Alabama, and they couldn't finish the job. Does that story change on Saturday?